This is page 2 of the Algebra 2 review. I'm trying my best to go through this and get you prepared for the test. I'm going to try to do some relevant problems. Find the sum of the following complex numbers. 7 and 6 gives you 13, and a positive I, and minus 9i gives you negative 8i. Over here we're finding the difference. Keep in mind that these two terms become negative. So 7 minus 10 is a negative 3. And negative 6 minus 6 is a negative 12i. Alright, when you multiply, you make your little box. You've got 6 minus 4i times negative 5 plus 2i. So 6 times negative 5 is a negative 30. Negative 4 times negative 5 is a positive 20i. 6 times 2i is 12i. And a positive 2 times a negative 4, they're both i's, gives you a negative 8i squared. So the negative 30 comes first. 20 plus 12 will become a total 32. And the negative 8i squared, when you have I squared, that is a negative 1. So a negative times a negative is a positive 8. So last step, that negative 30 plus 8 would be a negative 22 plus 32i. Alright, let's turn to the back. Sometimes the questions will ask you for x-intercepts, and sometimes the questions will say, solve by taking the square root. So if we divide by 6 on both sides, isolate the x squared is equal to 2, take the roots, and x is equal to positive or negative square root of 2. What if you're given something like the square root of negative 64, okay? Again, the 64 would come out, and that would be 8, but there's a negative in front of the 64, so that's the square root. Think about it as the square root of negative 1, so the square root of 64. And square root of negative 1 is an I. Don't forget that you've got to put positive and negative in front of that because you're taking the roots. Last one, we got a real equation here. We're adding 9 to both sides. So 2x squared is equal to negative 16. Divide by 2. X squared is equal to a negative 8. Take the roots. And 8, if you take the root, would be 4 times 2. Don't forget there's a negative in there. So x is equal to positive or negative. The root of 4 would be 2. The root of the negative 1 would be I, and then the other 2 has to stay inside. That's how you would solve that one. Alright, on the solve by factoring, I'm going to tell you right now, just put it in the calculator. Go to the y equals, and then plug in 2x squared plus 16x plus 32. I went ahead and moved it to one side for you. So 2x squared plus 16x plus 32. Alright, now that it's in there, hit graph. You can see what it looks like. You can see that it only hits the x-axis one time. You can also look at your table and see that it hits right there at negative 4, 0. So your x-intercept would be negative 4, 0, or if you solved, x is equal to negative 4, either of those answers. Okay? Alright, let's try this one. A little bit different. Again, go to your y equals, hit x squared minus 4x minus 12. Hit your graph. This one has 2 solutions. You can clearly see those two. One's at negative 2 and one is at 2, 4, 6. You can also tell by looking at your table. So you can see the negative 2, 0 right there, wherever y is 0. And there it is, 6, 0. So negative 2, 0, 6, 0, or x is equal to negative 2, x is equal to 6. Either way, you got your answer. Alright, quadratic formula. First of all, it has to be in standard form. So 6x squared minus x plus 1 equal to 0. A is 6, B is negative 1, C is 1. we're going to plug it in right here. So you have a negative of a negative, plus or minus. You have a negative 1 squared minus 4 times 6 times 1, all over 2 times 6. So the double negative becomes 1. The negative 1 squared is 1. 4 times 6 is 24, all over 12. So it's 1 plus or minus the square root of negative 23 over 12. And you can take that I out. So it's 1 plus or minus I square root of 23 all over 12. Done. Alright, last one we're going to do on this page is the inequality. We got to solve it. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to put this in the calculator. Go to your calculator and put in x squared plus 7x plus 10. X squared plus 7x plus 10. Alright, hit graph, and you can see there's two solutions right there. You got a negative 2 and a negative 5. You can check your table just to make sure. Oops. See the negative 2 and the negative 5? Those are both solutions, negative 2, negative 5. So you'll put those points. There is not an equal sign here, so we'll put an open circle at both. Now the easiest way is to let everything go to 0, all the x's to 0. It means we're testing this point right here. Test 0. Go to 0, and see if 10 is less than 0. Is this true? No, it's false. So we cannot shade right here. We can only shade in between. You could test any number here and see if it's still true, but testing the 0 works the fastest. And that's it for this video.